Welcome to, what are we going to call this again?
Dad and JC's movie review.
Right, the Dad and JC's movie review. And as I mentioned before, we are going to review a terrible film. A very terrible film in many, many, many respects. And believe me, this thing got 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it deserves the rating.
So this is
Alien versus Predators 2. I don't remember the last
Requiem.
name. Yes, Requiem. Troublous names.
So what are the issues you have with this movie?
Well,
first, a little plot.
Basically, it begins where the first movie left off, with the Predators leaving. This whole thing is going to be a spoiler alert. If you haven't watched this, please turn it off or be prepared for major spoilers. Here, I'll give you a moment. Okay, good. Let's continue. Where, as we see at the end of the first Alien vs. Predators, the alien burst out of the Predator's chest. On a side note, I would like to note the issue of the, what was her name again? I think I got her name wrong. What was her name again?
Ripley?
The lady from the first movie. Wow. Ripley is never brought up. Did she manage to get out of the Arctic? Was she left there stranded to die?
We
never.
I forget her name.
Yeah.
First AVP.
She reminded me of Ripley.
Yeah.
But
her name
what
is
happened?
Not Ripley.
What happened to her is completely never brought up. Did she starve in the Arctic? Was the helicopter working? What?
So you're saying there are some loose ends?
Yeah, a lot of loose ends.
So this film actually takes place on the continental United States in Colorado, near Colorado Springs.
Yep.
In the Foresty Mountains, thereabouts.
Wasn't the first Alien vs. Predator taking place in the future?
I'm not sure about that. I think it was kind of in the present day. As a matter of fact, I even think it was in the past, because it's 2012 now, and it was like, what, 20...
Yeah, I meant at the time it was released.
Yeah, I thought it was present day.
Yeah, okay. So...
And this one seems to be present day as well.
Yeah, basically, the alien escaped. Really nice predators there. You didn't check the body, you didn't cremate it, you didn't make sure it didn't get infected. No, you just laid it down there, presumably have some sort of rite performed on it later.
But there's
nice.
There's an interesting thing about this alien. Is it is a crossbreed between the predator and the alien. DNA has been mixed somehow. So it is a more aggressive, more tactically proficient alien.
And we never see a mom alien. I guess it doesn't need them anymore.
So let's just start in the beginning here with why this movie is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the plot.
Well, at the beginning, for the first 40 or 50 minutes, it just slogs through just characters' mundane lives.
Mundane. So it just seems that... So we have some teenagers that are fighting amongst themselves. We have a father-son out hunting. You have a typical Colorado Springsy type of town going about their business. A waitress and a cook and somebody returning back from the military. Just a bunch of normal people, right?
Yes, interjected with bits of Alien and Predator, but those are few and far between at the beginning, meaning it's very boring. And it makes you want to go, okay, when will they get to the main attraction? It's like if there was an hour-long Godzilla movie and we only saw Godzilla at the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then even when you had scenes of action, they seemed like they were B-movie-ish. I mean...
Yeah, not very realistic. Oh, yes, and by the way, folks, I can't really describe the gore. I hear it a lot, but I was covering my eyes when there was gore, which at the end was a lot.
And I would say it was gratuitous gore.
Mm-hmm.
It made seemed very random and made no sense at times. So you had battle scenes where suddenly people were dying that you didn't really expect, and it just there was no sympathetic characters whatsoever in this movie.
It was very dull. The characters were dull.
Like, you certainly don't like the aliens. You hate them.
Yes, and you don't like the predators for thinking, maybe we should work with these guys.
But you never really feel that you understand the aliens' motive. I mean, they end up taking over a hospital and doing horrific things in the maternity ward that I'll just leave that alone. But you really weren't sure what was going on. And then the predator was trying to stop the aliens,
but they were killing humans too.
Yeah, randomly killed humans, and you just couldn't be sympathetic for the predator either. So then you had human characters that were trying to survive, and you had this whole tension between these two brothers, one out of prison, one's the sheriff, and they go in different directions, and you really didn't really like them too much either.
Now, movie makers, let me give you some advice. You need to have sympathetic characters. At least one, please. At least one sympathetic character. You need at least somebody to root for. Even if they're morally gray, they still need to be sympathetic.
Yeah, so let's take the most sympathetic scene in the movie. All these people make it to the center of a town. They're waiting for evac from the military. And what happens to those people?
Yes, the military lies, never telling them the truth once, and just nuke them. That's interesting. It always seems like if you're in a universe or a movie, you have to take a test to become a general. You are given an emergency, and you are given a big red nuke 'em button. And to win, you have to press it instantly. Sir, we have enemies coming. Okay, nuke 'em. You're hired.
Yeah. So I guess needless to say, the plot pretty much sucks.
Oh, let's not forget the part where one group agrees to go to the hospital in the middle of town. This is near the end, by the way. They're trying to run from aliens, and they need to go to the hospital in the middle of town because there is a helicopter there.
Right, so they're going for the helicopter.
So many flaws.
So let's think about this. The National Guard gets called in to defeat the aliens. They are quickly defeated with all their Kevlar body armor, armored vehicles, heavy machine guns, all that stuff. The aliens wipe them out pretty quick. But the civilians that are armed from basically Cabela's with a few shotguns and pistols are able to totally survive and fight off the aliens. And by the way, the National Guard was in an area that wasn't really infested with aliens, and these guys go to Alien Central, which is the hospital, and they are able to fight their way through.
Let's not forget, there was only one helicopter, so what if somebody had taken it? I mean, they find it, but if somebody had taken it, they're in trouble.
Yeah, so it's pretty risky strategy, I'd say.
Can I notice nobody goes toward the airport? There are probably planes there. Even if there's not a helicopter, there's probably planes there. And there probably are maybe some pilots who might be willing to get you out of there.
In first class.
Or why don't maybe you just leave the city entirely? Maybe you should drive if none of those are an option.
Yeah, I don't know if they invented roads in this movie, but it seemed like maybe a good idea to get on the road. Just head out. I've heard of this thing called an interstate highway. You heard of that?
Very useful.
Yeah, you could just
leave. They don't know there's going to be a nuclear missile. Nobody ever really tells them, so why don't they assume, why don't we hit the road? We have this big armored tank, pretty much. And we seem to be surviving pretty well.
So, nuclear bomb supposedly solves the problem.
But what happens if they're hiding? They might be hiding in the sewers. They might, and then what happens if they crawl back?
Yeah, so if I'm an alien species on a brand new planet, i.e. Earth, I'm just going to go to one city and stay there.
Nice.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to head to Denver. A lot more people.
Do they have good pizza there?
All kinds of food. So, just, again, not a very realistic plot. Storyline was pretty terrible. Let's talk about the action scenes.
Are we?
Gratuitous violence for sure.
I didn't really see much of this.
Well, let me just tell you, lots of exploding heads and gore for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty disgusting.
I'm glad I didn't see that.
But I would say lackluster. I mean, for example, scenes where aliens are running around are very dark and hard to see. The CGI is average at best. A lot of times the battle scenes seem like guys in suits fighting each other.
Yes.
So just poor all around. I mean, nothing to write home about, nothing to get excited about. If I went and saw this movie in the theater, I would be, unless I was
give me my money back.
Yeah, unless I was a 13-year-old boy that just liked a lot of violence, I wouldn't be impressed at all. So.
And
So leading ladies in this movie, you got the tough army marine returning from some war. She was pretty tough, survived the helicopter crash at the end.
Ripley.
Then there was the teenage girl.
Oh yeah, in our previous review, we referred to Ripley as Ridley. Evidently, I was thinking a little bit of Metroid there. Sorry about
that. Okay, and then so the other leading woman was the teenage girl.
Yeah. And
she bites it.
Yes.
Kind of randomly.
Don't run forward.
To your dad. Goodbye, Slice. So anyway, so I guess we should get to the actual ratings.
Yeah, let's do the actors first in general. They're not very good.
Yeah, let me tell you about the exceptional performance of this one actor in the show. Wait, there were none. No exceptional performances. They were all terrible.
They really were very bad.
Alright, so what's your rating in this movie?
Depends. Do you only do 1 out of 5 stars, percentage, or out of 10?
I think we do 1 out of 10.
No, never mind. Negative 100.
I would have to agree with your assessment that if I could get my 90 minutes of life back,
I would take it.
I would definitely take it. This movie, I give it 1 out of 10. I suppose I could give a half rating to a worse movie, but I can't think of too many Hollywood-produced films that would be worse than AVP 2 Requiem.
Yeah, so avoid this movie. Oh, and if you see any copies of it, could you please take it to the nearest volcano and burn it? We might want to start a charity for that.
Yeah, I would take this precious and throw it in the lava and burn it. If it didn't exist, the world would be a better place, basically. So.
Yes, it would be very, very nicer.
All right. So this is Dad.
And this is JC signing off.
All right. So the next one.
Wait. What should our next one be?
I don't know. This pretty much concludes the Aliens and Aliens versus Predator movie series. I think we've seen them all now.
Yeah, I can see why it only had 2 movies.
Yeah, they had to kill this thing pretty quickly. So
they were trying to set up for sequel though.
Maybe we should do a review of Prometheus. We have seen that.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe next time Prometheus, we'll think about
something else. I don't know. So now for real, this is JC and
this is Dad.
Signing off. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good night.